Hey everyone, welcome to the Mispriced Golf Canadian Open betting preview. I'm Ryan Noonan, excited to be joined, as always, by my two friends in the spot. First, it is the director of all things content related here at BetSperts, Andy Mahler. Andy, how are we feeling today? A little light on your toes to get started this morning?
Yeah, a lot of golf matriculating. I've used that word a couple times now, all over my timeline, and it's not all Canadian Open. We'll get to some of that.
It is not, but a big week for our friend, obviously, who's 20 minutes from the course. It is your favorite golf tout's favorite golf tout from the Mayo Media Network is Geoff Feinberg. Geoff, how are we doing, bud?
I am doing well. It rained last night. It's raining now again quite hard. It's not supposed to rain this week, but of course it's going to be pretty lush, I think. Oh, yeah. So there's that if people care about that. And yeah, so much going on with LIV and a great field in Canada this week and a US Open next week that is sort of like so on the back burner, but it's going to smack us in the freaking face, I think, at some point, or when people sort of come out from this LIV energy, they're going to like, why were we wasting our time with that? I'm one of those. I am guilty. I will just close this off and start this off by saying, I don't really care much for the golf at the moment. Like, I'm not interested. Like, I don't care about watching it. Like, I'm not interested in that, but I am hyper fascinated in the conversation surrounding its existence. That is where my interest is. I don't know whether it'll be good streaming, cringe streaming, like painful to watch, or entertaining. I have no idea. Well, that'll play itself out, but I am here for the conversation around its existence.
I couldn't agree more. I'd be interested to see how it plays out long-term as a product, but I don't know how you cannot be in the space or a fan of what's going on and consuming this show in any way and not be enamored with all the discussions and moving parts and, whether it's, geopolitical stuff aside, but you can't really put it aside because it's really part of the discussion here. It is so incredible to kind of see how this process is going to come along and really how the tour continues to try to fight what seems like an uphill battle and maybe a losing battle long-term. It's wild to see guys like, Dustin Johnson saying today that he is, relinquishing his tour card basically, and with the expectation that I agree with, that they'll be able to play the majors. And I do think that with the US Open pending, and then there's an event, I believe the next LIV event is here in the States in like Oregon, right? Like, I think then you start to see even some more bigger names start to get into the discussion because this is an insane amount of money, life-changing. Because again, we didn't get to talk about this here last Tuesday because the schedule or like the names finally came out on Wednesday morning, so we didn't really get to unpack it. But Andy, yeah, what are your thoughts? I mean, it's hard to have an organized discussion around this because there's so many moving parts, but it is fascinating, like Geoff said.
I talked about a little bit on the deep dive last night with Drew, and it's like, yeah, I get that, like, hey, that's some bad actors running things, but I've always been fine, maybe not as a viewer or a fan. Like, if I'm a fan of, let's just use it. I live in Minnesota. Like, Adrian Peterson, it was pretty rough. Like, what, the pictures of the kid and all that, and, he beat the shit out of a kid. Not good. Like, as a fan, I can say, like, you know what? I'm not as big of a fan as him anymore. But I've been able to separate, like, horrible, horrible people and things like that when I'm betting or doing fantasy. Because I can't be like, I'm not betting on that guy, or I'm not having him on my fantasy team. Like, if I'm going to let that sort of stuff creep into my financial decisions, because that's what they are about betting, then, I mean, I'm handicapping myself at that point. So, like, I've been able to separate, really shitty people and still bet on them. Like, I bet on some horrible people, and it's what I mean. We have this sort of stuff happens in golf too. There's some criminals on the tour, honestly. So it's a shitty deal, like the people that are running this, but at the same time, like, betting Andy says, it's one more tour to bet on, and there's some fun names, and I'm gonna have outrights on the LIV tour this week. I'll have outrights. I'm actually kind of excited about this part of it because I don't know what the first one ever offered. I'm sure people were betting just with locals 100 years ago, because golf is such a betting game, but we have a chance. We have a unique opportunity to 10 years down the road to say, I have bet money on every single live event that's ever happened. I did it. Like really?
Wow.
Like that's it's been like 10 years. Yeah, I did it. I've bet an outright in every single event.
Tell your grandkids about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this streak going. So, and you can't, if you do not bet this week, you cannot say that. So you have to start now. And again, it's
No, but
weird. And I think the main thing that I don't want to say I'm waiting to pass judgment, because I've passed judgment. It's like, hey, guess what? They beheaded a reporter and they fostered terrorist networks. They're shitty people, but I think that what I'm waiting to pass judgment on is what the PGA Tour is going to do. Like, that's what I'm waiting to decide is how I feel about all this, because in my mind, the real quandary for me is like, how does this affect the future of golf? How does this affect the PGA Tour down the road? How does this affect all the alt tours? And it really, a big part of that is going to come down to is, how does the PGA respond to this if they're going to be thumbing their nose at them and saying like, oh, guess what? You can't play at the major. Or if Augusta is going to say, guess what? 2 former major champions here that are still, in decent enough form, despite how old Phil is, like, you can't play here. The Masters Committee says no. Like, I don't know how.
You got Sergio. You got
DJ.
DJ.
I don't count Sergio as like a good golfer though.
He's younger than Phil.
He's younger than Phil. I would take Phil heads up against Sergio.
I sort of agree with it. Like, the fascination is how this affects the future of golf, how this affects like golf's top young prospects, how this affects, it seemed like guys, they don't have to do the grind potentially if they've earned that right to not to. The geopolitical stuff, you said it, Ryan, you can't ignore it. And you try to make a comment that doesn't involve it. It's like, you don't care about 9/11. 9/11's horrible. Like, how do I answer that? Like, right. I don't know what to say, but I'll only respond. And this is probably the defeatist attitude that got us in this place. Like, this world's a fucking hellscape full of hypocrisy. Like, you're going to tell me this league, that owner's horrible. Half these EPL teams that Sky Sports makes money off of are owned by these guys. Like, I don't understand. And I'm not saying because EPL does it or F1 does it, it's right, but I don't know. What am I supposed to do? I can't follow everything. I'm wearing a Nike hat. Like, to some people would say that's like I've already crossed a line, potentially. And I'm not comparing wearing a Nike hat to 9/11 either. I just don't know. They'll tell me where I can eat chicken. Like, I don't know. And I'm just a sports fan, and life is confusing, and I got 2 kids, and I'm just trying to get the monotony of life, and golf helps me through it. So there's more golf, and it's changing, and I'm going to be a part of it. Like, that's it. I don't know. That's so how it affects the future, how it affects prospects, how it affects majors. It sucks to think, I don't know, like, guys get paid to play. So does your favorite pitcher. He makes that money before he throws his first pitch that day. Does he try less? I don't know. I've had a lot to say on the internet this morning, so it's weird for me to say I don't know, but I'm just taking it like Andy in this regard. I can't keep up. I'm sorry. And there's people that are probably really offended by that. I'm not a good enough person, I guess. I just got to do what's good for me in the same way they are. Yeah. I don't know what to say.
I think you can be, and hopefully people are, I don't know, like, mature enough to have a little bit of separation here and have a conversation for what this is as an entity without the other stuff. And again, like I said at the top, like, it is from like a totality standpoint, you can't separate it, but like, we can have discussions about how this is such a unique situation and how it is going to ideally, or not ideally, but I think it's going to impact the tour. It impacts the model that we have been, grown up watching and covering and loving. And that thing this is a very more than a wrinkle currently, right? We have to at least kind of ride out those current things. The money involved is insane. And we can't have that discussion without the political piece of it. But like, seeing these young kids get this guaranteed money, as Geoff said, to have to skip the grind, basically. Even the guys that are kind of in the middle or to the top of this with like Louis was talking about how he was looking to just kind of hang out on the farm in Florida. And now this came along, and like this guaranteed money at the top to have a massively truncated schedule to do what you love, to do what you do and still go out and earn, but then get all this money that's just guaranteed. Like, it's
to not
really
be
hard.
retired, but to still get to do it on a schedule that works. And shocker, some of them are cash players, some of them play for legacy. We know that, and some of them are very vocal about that. Rory's life without a fifth major he will not his life will not feel complete if he had to stop at 4 for where he got 4.
Yeah.
Other don't give a shit. They could have 0. It ain't no hobby. It's just a job. It's a job. And that's weird. And it's weird to think of a guy going to an exquisite golf course to be pampered, has to look at it like a job, but it just is. It just is. So you got to respect some of that.
Money just, we can sit here and judge, but boy, I would struggle to turn down that sort of money for anything. Like you could get me to do some pretty horrible things for that kind of money. And it just, anybody who is in a level of power in government or business or just is a rich person has had to make trade-offs like that. And that's where, we just have to realize like enough money will make stuff like that go away in your brain. Like we spoke about it with the Deshaun Watson, situation last night. Again, Drew and I said, there's a very good chance, and Drew said 100%, and I'm pretty much there too, where they just said like, hey, this Deshaun Watson character, like before they signed him, like he's probably like a sexual deviant and a criminal, but we have a business to run here, and he's a super high-end talent that we could get, and we could, make this franchise make a lot of money and win a lot of games. Like, what's the trade-off there? And they just, you weigh it. It's like the Fight Club thing where, Ed Norton explains his job, where they have to determine how many people die due to an auto defect before they do a recall. Like there's just a trade-off for everything, and it sucks, but that's how the world works.
And I had that part going through my mind over the last few weeks. Like Phil Mickelson sees himself as the smartest guy in the room. We've all got friends that think of themselves that, and we know they aren't. And they say really dumb things, and we laugh at them for it. That's it. The guy who thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, makes a silly comment, and we laugh because he's just caught up in how smart he is. He didn't do what Deshaun Watson did. Like, he didn't do something horrible. He said something really stupid.
Yeah.
And he got treated like someone who did something heinous. I found really weird. I do believe that you can't just jump. Like, I get they're independent contractors, and I make the wrestling tie often. Because I believe in some ways there are so many parallels to wrestling and golf in just a weird way. Let me explain. They're both hyper niche sports at the total hyper popular niche. They're not NFL, they're not NBA, they're not baseball. At the total opposite ends of the spectrum of, maybe socioeconomic class or who is watching, that sort of thing. But they're monopolized, and they're independent contractors, and sometimes disruption was good in that element. So I'm excited for disruption here. But you can't go, oh, I want to wrestle for Vince one week and wrestle for Turner the next. Like, that's not allowed if they're not allies like European Tour and PGA Tour. So anyone who thinks that should be allowed, I totally agree. Where the PGA is like, hell no. And that's part of it. They charge so much money for sponsors of tournaments that they can't diminish those tournaments in any way. Maybe I said a lot, I said a little. Maybe that wrestling thing is weird, but
it makes sense.
I see Phil and DJ no different than Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. It's less days on the road. It's guaranteed money. It's less work for more pay, and they, that's it. Who
is that simple? Almost less work for more, like significantly more pay. guaranteed pay, and then more pay at the top against a smaller, weaker field. Like I'm kind of with Andy. Like I'm surprised that some, I think maybe they want to see how like the tour reacts. And if they do have a legal leg to stand on as far as, it's the
PGA
legacy
Tour is a greed-filled entity as well. They run those
Absolutely.
fucking things 50 weeks a year. Shame on them.
Yeah.
Shame on them.
Absolutely.
They could take 2 weeks off of time here, there, all the time. Shame on them. They think that they got to run those fucking events all year.
Then we have this small schedule, and these dudes are getting, again, it's a small, not, garbagey field, and the winner's going to take home significantly more than anyone's made at any event this season, just with the purse money. So,
what happens this week when some total jabroni wins who's 800 world ranking points higher than the guy ranked 80th in the world? What happens then? Guys are gonna lose their mind. What does this week pay on LIV? 8 million, 10 million? Like for the first place, something stupid?
I think it's 4, but still,
4.
But that's more than anything else.
Yeah, no. What happens when he wins 2.5 majors in one shot?
Right.
And he's 850 in the world. He just won back-to-back players championships.
Yeah.
Ranked 850 payday. What sort of
I don't think there's some like exodus. It's still just enough people have to realize like that's one off. If it happens week in and week out, there's going to be some
guys.
What's that?
There's only 50 of them, and 20 of them are you're as good as.
Yeah, that's where I'm still wondering. Like some of these guys just, I don't know what would have to happen for one of those guys to win. Like it feels like the winner's coming from the top 20 guys. There are some names that are just,
man. I mean,
I agree. Golf, but at some point,
it still happens.
At some point, someone's gonna win. Like I said, they're going to win 2 players championships with a 1,000th ranked ranking, and guys are going to be doing spinning, and their wives are going to look at them like, okay, the dream is dead.
Front.
The dream for you to win a major, be some FedEx Cup glory player, it's over, honey.
Yeah, I think, and the people that are over there already, these people that you're describing as 800 spots below, they already got their money up front.
Well, I'm talking about Chase Koepka, as an example.
No, but they got the Chase Koepka got paid to come play already. Like they got half decent money up front. Some of these, it wasn't DJ money, but they got a big chunk of money. So I'm saying I don't think it's some of these low end guys are gonna be like, oh man, I'm gonna go over there and win. If they wanted to, I think there's probably a lot of offers floated.
You want to know something? The players I would be most attracted to in the to win market would be the really good play. I know it sounds silly because I made fun of him, but Kevin Na. Yes, he's made 39 million on the PGA Tour in his career, but he's made probably a lot less than say McDowell and Poulter and Sergio and certainly Phil and DJ. So this is literally he's going to see these as gap filling opportunities more so than easy money, if that makes sense. So that's kind of silly enough where my mind goes.
You don't even have to win. There's prizes for 5th place too. Who was that said that? They pay 20. They pay top 20 players pretty good too.
But you got dudes like Peter Uihlein that are getting $6 million just to come over and play. This is the part to me that is,
and that's where I think it's not going to change someone's mind if some long shot wins this event. Well, shit, I could get a big chunk just to go there. And Dan did the math. The person who finishes dead last, their purse is worth the same as the guy who finished 20th at the RBC Canadian. I don't think some long shot winning is going to change hearts and minds. The money's already stupid.
Right.
So I think the thing that we're holding out on is people are going to wait until the US Open's over.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to, because I really don't think the RNA is going to give a shit. They're not going to keep people out of the Open for this. So they wait till the US Open's over, and then there's going to be some weird second group of folks that are all right, I wanted to make sure I get that last major in, maybe catch a check.
They just didn't want to go to England. They're timing wise. No, you are 100% right. You get the sense there is almost a tidal wave of players in that weight and see like Kevin Kisner can go tomorrow. He can go in 2 months. Like it doesn't matter. Let's just, the cost benefit analysis is, let me just like wait this out a little bit. I don't need it to, and I don't doubt that anyone that's there right now, they got a bit of a like doorbuster special price, like help us walk through the door first time bonus.
Sure.
And I'm not like, but that's irrelevant because they'll want a Kevin Kisner, a Matt Kuchar, like they'll accept those guys with open arms forever, I would think.
I would think so too. Anyone that's even sort of at the top
Kokrak's
tier.
in the U.S. Open field. Like Kokrak may announce Kokrak may announce how much he got paid on the 18th green Sunday. Like he's champing. He's gonna go. So there's Kisner. There's a few guys that are just gone.
Kokrak in contention on the weekend. They probably put him in like a jersey on Sunday that says Golf Saudi on the back. Like what they will dress those guys as if they're contending at a major next week, because they don't have sponsors anymore. Golf Saudi, I think, is their sponsor.
Yeah.
So
can roll back all the shark gear from the 80s,
Yeah. And then the other part of it, if you're like the top 1-2 college prospect, why don't I leave school too early? Maybe LIV will sign me to a 2 or 3 year deal. And then even if PGA doesn't want to accept me, I'll Q school, I'll Monday qualify. Like if I'm good enough, but I'm taking $12 million to support my family, to buy my parents' homes, send my nephew to school. I don't know, whatever they got to do. Not everyone's Maverick McNeely in the ecosystem of golf, although there are, it's more likely that way. But in an NBA, NFL dynamic, I'm taking that bag. And one day I would like to get to the PGA Tour and qualify for Ryder Cups and FedEx Cups. But these first 3 years, I'm doing this.
That's where I wonder, and that's probably my last thought on that was they will have to change some things, because you think about other sports, and granted, in the NFL you need to go to college for a couple of years. In the NBA you can be a one and done. College hockey is different. You can sign with the team and still play college hockey.
Yeah.
I really we were speaking about how college baseball could be better. They need to adopt the hockey model and get rid of AA on down. And just
NBA used to have that model.
Yeah, let them sign with teams and still play college baseball, so that college baseball would be awesome, because I've had fun the last week betting it. I just wish it were bigger. But they're going to need to adopt something like that, where these young golfers aren't just like, again, staying at a super 8 and grinding their way through this. Like these high-end golfers who are young and coming up, the PGA is going to have to subsidize them somehow. Otherwise, they're just going to lose most. And
you're going to have to glad hand them.
Yes.
Like you're going to have to spoil. It's ironic because it's so anti-golf, but you're going to have to spoil the prospect maybe in the same way the NFL has to. Like You've never played it down, but you're spoiled and you're special.
Yep.
Like,
I think that's going to be the biggest change. They're going to have to, otherwise they'll lose everyone.
Can I end this just being an enormous hypocrite? Because it wouldn't be fitting any other way. There is one player out of all of them I'm actually a little disappointed in.
Oh God.
And it sounds weird to say this, because I'm really not. And I get he just doesn't have the game anymore. But of everyone that went, of everyone that's going, the PGA Tour, no one benefited more from what the PGA Tour gave them than Ricky Fowler. Nobody. Oh, Phil, DJ, you could argue they earned everything they got. They earned it. And I don't want to dismiss. I'm a Ricky Fowler fan. He's a genuine good guy. You've seen him U.S. Open qualify, miss, send their signed autographs for 3 hours. That's not in the dark. That's not for show. That's not. Loves the game, and the game is being taken away from him, and I guess he still wants to play, and I sympathize with that. But nobody owes the tour more than that guy. Nobody. But it's not like there's special exemptions. Memorial isn't every week. You're only friends with so many Jack Nicklaus and people. Sponsors would let him play. I don't know if we want to do that. I made myself a hypocrite because I'm really not disappointed in anybody, but I will close by saying none of them benefited more from the what the PGA Tour did for them than Rick.
Yeah, the entire discussion around the massive amounts of money that these guys are leaving on the table from an ad standpoint and sponsorship standpoint is negated by this guaranteed money up front almost for some of these guys. And Ricky still moves the needle from
There's so few players that tour puts a parachute on.
Oh my gosh.
They put a parachute on him, and timing was everything. His look, the colors, there's so many factors. But we know that they put the parachute, and I became a fanboy. So credit to him that he made money off me. The sportsbooks made money off me. Everybody in North America made money off Ricky Fowler being pushed. I lost money. I bought Puma hats and lost bets, but everyone else made a lot. I'm sure of it.
I got an orange Puma shirt upstairs in the closet. So yeah, I was there because he is likable. He does seem like a good dude. And yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. To Geoff's point, like we don't know about the golf, and at the end of the day, the golf and like the structure of this like team and individual vibe could be interesting. These team names are fucking bizarre.
Did it survive on the screen though?
I wanted to switch over to RBC, but now I do have to bring up the team event. It makes no sense what they're doing. So it's a stroke play event, but you're on a team drafted by a captain. So it seems to me that these captains are essentially playing fantasy golf in an event that they're playing in. So they draft a team, and then based on how those guys do, they can advance their team. But the teammates don't like play together or anything. It's still just stroke play golf like a normal tournament. I kind of like that. Yeah, the team names and the logos are the cringiest shit I've seen in a while. It's like they hired some kid to
that it's trying too hard, I think. Like I think they're doing enough to sort of get us noticing. The team golf dynamic is weird.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, you're gonna see them care. You're gonna see them like even high five because they want a team event. They won't even. Does DJ have to be dragged out to like watch some guy finish? He's like, buddy, I just played 18. I'm going to shit and shower. I'm not watching I'm not watching that guy. I don't give a shit.
Sorry that I drafted Jediah Morgan, but
I'd buy if they make like jersey t-shirts or something. I swear to you, I'd buy one of those horrible team names.
I can see you with the LIV Tours Fowler on the back.
That is the one thing that golf is missing that other sports have money. Is the jersey. Like if they should create jerseys, like everyone, we shit on people's shirts because it's like, what was
say that with the Ryder Cup? It's the only time I think they should have like their names on something like cool that you could mass produce if people wanted to buy it.
Yeah, I
know like 10-year-old boys don't really care about golf like that. It's kind of like almost a regret I have in life is I wish I went to the court. Like I regret not loving golf as a kid. I wish I had 20 more years of chips in these wrists so I could actually maybe do it effectively. Yeah, because I'm one of those losers now that actually like will tell his child it's a life skill.
It is. It's the game you want to learn and play forever. Play for the rest of your life. Yeah. You can't play basketball when you're in your 70s.
My dad would say, you're going to get 16 friends. You're going to round up your friends, go play baseball. I'd be like, yeah, we're going to. Fucking idiot. Talking about me.
Yeah, people just it was easier. So all right, our RBC. We'll bitch about the LIV every week.
Yeah.
Probably not that long, but it was good. We got all our feelings out, and there's still so much more to find out. Like really 2 weeks from now, once the US Open happens, we're gonna find out a lot more, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Scared.
Canadian Open, like I said, mentioned in Geoff's backyard here. Very unique board, very unique field. We have some big names. We have 5 of the top 10 in the world, but when you get kind of down the board, we have just 12 of the top 50, and that kind of plays itself out in the odds market and is kind of a unique board when we have all these guys that are under 20, and then we have a fairly large drop off down into what ends up being, I guess, the mid tier this week. So, Geoff, kick us off. Is there anyone that jumped out to you at the top of the board when we have Scotty, JT, and Rory? Again, we haven't seen this course in a long time. We haven't played this event for a couple of years for COVID reasons. I think, we haven't been here since 2010, so it's really not anything statistically that we need to, draw on here. But again, pretty straightforward course. There's not a lot of like unique looks here. You, again, can be penal rough, your basic tree line course. Is there anything here at St. George's Golf and Country Club that we need to know about? And talk to me about the top of the board.
I'm no St. George expert. I will say I do expect a winning score 16 to 18 under par. I think it can be penal, but it could also be taken apart. When you discuss the top, it's the caveat of the week before the major. We've seen now we're on a pretty consistent trend here of the week before the major going like certainly north of 50 to 1 this year and last year so far. Quite significant long shots, guys. But we're also seeing this new trend of the young, really good players wanting to play the weeks before the major, realizing how hot they get when they're hot, stay hot. I make the comment about the week before the major, but you have to acknowledge right behind KH Lee a couple weeks ago was Spieth, Decky, and Justin Thomas. So it's like it is such a fine line. I didn't make any of these bets. I would bet Rory. You could argue that the neutralizing of a course like this takes away his strength, but I've seen him in Canada take apart courses like this. Cam Smith, based on like game type and course type, I think I would argue is the best fit. But if I did make a move near the very, very top, it would be Rory. I've passed on them all.
How about you, Andy?
Looking at my card, yeah, it was one of those where, man, Scotty probably just wins this, right? I think we're at that spot where we were at the beginning of the year with Rahm. It's like, man, Rahm's in the field, but can we bet him at this price? And I'm kind of there with Scotty now. I love him. I like everything about him. But I honestly have a lot of respect for how Rory's playing right now. I had him in my card last week at a pretty expensive price. You really want to say it, but I couldn't fire on some of these guys right now. Just I don't ever want to throw motivation into it. Like they all want to play the best golf. They all want to win every week, but man, it is a tune-up week in some foreign ass country where they're just.
On that note, it should be Sam Burns then as the bet.
Just
because like small field before a major, after a major, we say every week, he just exudes a winner. He doesn't care what field he's in. He doesn't care about the purse. He just exudes being a winner. So you like sort of having guys with that attitude in these types of events that border significantly bigger events, I'd guess. As Andy's talking, like, well, I should bet Sam Burns. I'm not, but as you talk through it, I guess Sam Burns might be the pick here. I passed them all.
Yeah, I messaged Geoff yesterday because I was, sitting on Burns because I thought Burns made a ton of sense. And I think JT is in that same spot where I think there's a history here of JT competing the week before majors. I think Geoff talked about how this, JT's maybe at the late stage of the young guys at this point because he's, getting up there a little bit. But, we have like 4 straight top 10s the week before major for JT. And I think they want to carry that momentum in versus the old school mentality of a tune-up week, which I think there's obviously something to that. But like, I don't know. I don't think that JT is going to use this just to get in some shots. Like I think he wants to tee it up. Wins are hard to get. This is not a super strong field. Take that win, carry it over to Boston and keep going. So JT again at 10 is really hard to get to. 7 on DraftKings. That's,
there are some of these players who may have gone to Toronto via Boston.
I'm sure JT did.
Yeah,
JT's one of them.
He did. There's several that have like stopped and so it's hard to say like, oh, their head's not in it because you see this all the time. It's not like they took 2 days off and went to Monster Jam in Birmingham. They stopped to golf. Like how does more golf make you not good at, like, I get it. You should play the course you're at and get to know it, get to understand maybe a little bit of, especially this one that's not an every year course, that you're seeing.
I do believe St. George's, well, distance wise certainly is no US. Like that's off the tee. You're not going to have any, like, I need a 200-yard iron into a par 4. We're not there with St. George's, but I do think you get yourself in trouble. It can be some like pretty decent US Open prep. The Northeast rough, like we're thick, we're lush right now. It will be penal if you miss. You'll have to get really creative around the greens. So I don't think, like, there are some things, but I'm with Andy. He stopped to golf, and I'm not going to say anything bad about Justin Thomas, who's also his whole Tiger connection. If you like legacy players, I'm going to say something real corny here. Maybe it's just like a stand for Canada and this event and its history. It is the third oldest national championship in the world. The all-time greats of the sport have won this tournament. It's a big one. It was the first event Arnold Palmer won, Jack won, Tiger won, Trevino won. Like, it is just a great list of past champions that when they do win it, they like to boast on it. It's something you could lose and then not care about. But when they do win it, they like to boast about the legacy aspect. I know that because its most recent winner was Rory, who's also a legacy guy, and he glad-handed onto that, which made us feel nice here in Canada.
Yeah. And we got that RBC narrative here with obviously the DJ is kind of been left to the side of the road. So you can see that with the JT, coming out here and this kind of being an annual stop for him moving forward. So
I think how it's like when you're a good team and you lose a top free agent, like how RBC, I'm fully expecting to send the bank to one of these guys. Rory's interesting because he's a Nike guy and they pretty much require Baron shirts, but JT is totally open for business and be a great ad, I think, for them to get a preeminent guy for a company that has 2 regular tour stops.
Yeah, no, I agree. So outside of Cam Smith, there, as you mentioned, we get down to that second tier where we have some short prices on some guys that I bet last week. I bet a lot this season that haven't really closed the gap. Shane Lowry is super short. Matthew Fitzpatrick is super short, and I like them a lot. I think they fit here. But those are really hard numbers to get to. Corey Connors, obviously, for all the reasons that you would expect. His game could fit here very well with the ball striking prowess that he has. But 20s across the board almost. 22 at a couple of places on Connors is fairly short. Then you get into the next range when you get into that 40 and below range. Finau, Hatton, HV3, Hadwin, Kirk. Interesting little tier. And again, this is kind of where we see a fairly precipitous drop off from that Lowry, Fitz, Connors tier to this next group of guys. I think we all have a few plays here in this middle. But I know a guy that you have been hammering, Geoff, is in this. This is a guy that you picked. I believe you told me that you had told someone that you had pot committed on HV3 winning this week. So you have to make the bet.
Yeah, I talked myself into it before it even happened. And I like him into the HV3 backstory, which allows me to think he can get over that back 9 because it's just like it's gone and he's a forward kind of guy. Ryan, full disclosure. So yeah, that came out 42 on FanDuel, 22 on DraftKings. You're like, I don't know what to do. Is 42 even a good number? Like, I know 22 is horrible, but is 42 fair? Is 42 right? And I kind of force bet it because I'm just into Varner at the moment. As we sit here on Monday, I don't really feel it like I felt on Tuesday. Like the next day, the morning after, not as gung-ho about it. I've also heard some rumors he's in Oregon right now, which could be, I don't think he's scouting LIV, but he's kind of just doing something. And he is an RBC ambassador, so maybe just feels committed to this one. And there's the US Open next week, but of course sets up perfect for his ball striking. So I'm not as gung-ho about it as I was out of the gate. That being said, it still represents some pretty good CLV.
Yeah.
Whatever that's worth for people that did take that early 42. I don't know that I'd be shocked by the time we get to Wednesday night, Ryan, if 40s are kind of back there for Harold across the market. So I'm in on Harold. It's almost like a FOMO bet. It's not the bet that I feel the best about, certainly. If we can move on, or I'm sure we can piggyback on some of those that we share.
CLV is CLV. Andy, you took a couple shots there in the 20 below. As Guy mentioned, you playing the Canadian narrative this week, or is
Yeah, I haven't been on Lowry a ton, but I did play. I found a 20, just a shade over 20. It's fuck. I probably just have to. It was I'm going to put money on either Lowry or Fitz, and I found a price I liked on Lowry. I'm not excited, but just the stats. I'll flesh it out. He's going to win something, or he's going to be damn close to winning something. I have him so high in my rankings in every which way I look at it. So had to play a little of him in the second tier there. And then, Corey Connors found a 24 this morning. And not only, yes, it's a Canadian. I guess that's a nice little bump. But, man, this time of the year, last year, he was playing great. If he can get that ball striking back to last summer's form, I think he top 20'd in the Open later in the year. But, like, before that stretch of, like, the PGA, the Schwab, he had a couple before that. I'm trying to think where he actually got he did, like, a top 5 earlier in the year. No, it was the Masters. It wasn't top 5, but he was top 10 there. He's played well last week at the Memorial. He's just a guy that's popping for me. I kind of didn't want to. I was either going to take – it's almost like building a DFS lineup for me. It's like, you know what? I might just bet Scotty, Rory, and then like 5 guys that are 100 to 1. And I said that, and I kind of went the opposite way where I went with a couple people in the 20s, and then I didn't bet anyone until we got to 50. So I did skip over Varner. I'm a Varner fan. I like it. I just, like Geoff said, that if there was a 40, 45, I'd do it, but 30s are not going to do it for me there. And then, I mean, other people in that range, I don't bet Tony Finau. It's not something I do. I'm going to just try to keep that off my card in general. And I guess if you want to bet Patrick Reed, you can. I won a matchup bet by more strokes than I think I've ever won a matchup bet where both men made the cut. So it was Billy Horschel over Patrick Reed. I think there was an 18-stroke gap between the two of them. It was just wild looking at that matchup at the end of the day. The only one I fucking won for full tournament. But that middle range is kind of dead to me, and I ended up with Munoz and Chris Kirk, about 50 to 1 on both. And again, it was just number stuff for me. The form is really there for Munoz. Kirk obviously as well. I have them as decent fits, and I don't know. I struggled building my course fit for this week, as it is tough, rough, but I really think we're actually going to see some bomb and gouge. So I'm fine with some guys who can hit the ball a mile.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a unique mix of like par 4s too, like some shorter par 4s, that some forced layups. So I think we'll see some less than driver at times. A lot of the length of the course is tied up in the par 3s.
I will say St. George's, much like my club, which is hosting next year, which hosted yesterday's Monday qualifier, there's not a single person in our membership who I would have spoken to that would have thought the winning score in the Monday qualifier would have been 3 under. I'd have bet like a testicle it'd have been at least 5 under. Like thinking this course, knowing the course, like there's no way. I know it's not PGA, it's Monday qualifier, a lot of just random, but they're all these kids are like 6'5", and it's incredible. Anyhow, and they're not even the pros. And St. George, it's a very similar architectural, same Stanley Thompson design, classical tree line golf course. This has me like my head spinning as to like maybe it will play harder, but I do agree. It doesn't seem that hard. I do think somebody gets it, flirts with 20. Much like the thing in Dallas where they play Shadow or the Creek and Buddy got to 26. How do I put this? This year, next year, it's not the toughest courses in town. I shouldn't say in town, but they're the courses in town. They're the courses in Toronto City Center. Just like Byron, they want to be in Dallas, where RBC's headquarters are in Toronto. They want to take their people. They want to be able to drive 20 minutes and
Makes
go
sense.
and not have to. We got courses all over this country that could play to even par, I promise you. They're not going there. They just want to be in Toronto City Center. Now, love Fitz, love Lowry, had to pass on both. I might get there on Fitz. And I'll feel really stupid if Lowry wins and I bet Fitz, because I'm seeing them at the same number at my shops. Like Lowry's the guy that wins, Fitz is the guy that isn't. I'm beholden to betting guys that don't win. We can move on. The Canada thing, if this event on this course type was anywhere in the world, I'd have money on Corey Connors, I'd have money on Adam Hadwin, but I will not. Now, I've bet Nick Taylor 150 to 1 because that's my token Canadian, I guess, for the week because I'm obligated to have one. I'm here to tell everybody out there, this can be old takes exposed. You here to just token bet Canadians, you got it all wrong. You've never watched this tournament. David Hearn went off in the final group a couple years ago, Andy, with Jason Day. You'd have think he was competing for the goddamn Masters. What TSN, what this country does to these guys. You want to bet on a guy who's just trying to win the RBC with pressure like it's the Masters? I don't want to bet that dynamic. That's what I'm telling you those guys will be up against. Now, we see the Irish Open. We see like Shane Lowry win that. We see European events in Spain, and you see a bunch of Spaniards like on the leaderboard. For whatever reason, I don't know. Here,
too polite.
It's so messed up what we do. If you could watch Canada Sports Center that week, you'd believe me. I'm telling you, I am outright. They can play fine. I'm not betting them to win. I am not.
Yeah, we had this conversation around Ashley Barty in the Australian Open because it had been like 45 damn years since an Australian had won.
She's like number one in the world. If
she was
number, with Scotty Scheffler, we would be like,
you'd be excited.
But
Connors. The pressure thing, it did get brought up, and I kind of said that. I said, you know what, athletes are wired differently. Like, it's not the same. Like, these are the top of their game. I think that applies for every country in the world except probably the polite folks up there.
No, I don't think it applies to the States because you guys.
No, I'm applying it to you, Canada. I don't think Canadian athletes are only hockey players.
I just thought like an American can win an event in America. No one gives a shit. That's a weekly occurrence.
Oh, yeah, we have like 30 of them. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't know why. And we've seen guys get into Vijay Singh, Andy, you don't know this. Vijay Singh tried to give it to Mike Weir. He like missed a 5-footer. Him and Mike Weir were like best friends. It's not even a thing. They're real life best friends. Vijay won multiple majors. It's like, Mike, I want you to have this, Mike. Mike couldn't even do it. He couldn't even take it. It's crazy.
I believe it. I hate that I have to bet on a Canadian now, but I already bet Connors. I can't.
No, I'm not. Listen, if I had to pick, I'm just saying, if this event on this course type, Adam Hadwin fits what this course seems like it's asking as much as anyone in the field. It's like, I like Hadwin as much as I like Chris Kirk, who I might actually bet, but he's not Canadian.
I wanted a Taylor Pendrith bomb, but he withdrew again.
He's just been back from injury. I don't really know what's up with him. He's been out for a while. We were on that. He's been a fun guy up here in Canada. Kind of disappeared though. I think there's been some injury there that's been brought to my attention.
Yeah, I think he's dealing with a hip injury. I think I saw. So that kid can hit it a mile. So I was thinking, hey, club down, he could still contend, and maybe he can fight through the pressures that the Canucks put on each other up there. But yeah,
the only way Canucks winning is if it's Canuck versus Canuck.
Yeah, it's true. It's been rough, the Oilers got bounced. They need something up there.
Oh yeah, America wins another cup. I forgot.
They're still Quebec. That's like an asterisk. That's a half one.
That's true.
That's a half one.
They haven't won it.
They haven't won it, but that's still some Canada. I'm just saying.
I guess
freeze hasn't been put when you put the Avs into the cup finals. I would love America to win, but I just want you guys to know, just a standard Canadian event, like what they do on the leaderboard on the Canada Sports Center, is they'll literally just show like the guys in first and second, and then instead of third place, it's just the Canadians.
Well, it's like seeing the medal count at for the Olympics.
Yeah, and I get America can't like
here's a guy who got like fifth in the long jump for America.
Yeah. And we love personal bests. We appreciate a personal best more than any nation on earth. Granted, we're an incredibly proud sporting nation, and to finally win this tournament would be treated like someone just won a major. I am not kidding. It'd
be awesome.
That. No, it would be great. It would be great, and I'd hope the golf Twitter ecosystem would enjoy it, because I'd lose money on it, but I will enjoy it.
You should put a little on Corey.
It's too short. Adam at like 50 can do it with the card, but I'm more in the Nick Taylor Svensson range.
I don't know. I think Connors just runs. Connors wire to wire.
And Ryan have bet Finau. We should put that out there. He got a 33. I think I got a 32. It's same shit, but second and a fourth in his last couple events. Like, if I'm not going to bet Finau now at 30, I don't know. That's just what I got to do. Oh my God, Feinberg bet Varner and Finau. Thanks for the tips. I've also bet Hatton. I think he sets up very nice. When I see Fitz at like 18 and I see Hatton at 33, I jumped to Hatton. I'm hoping he's ready to make that move. And I don't know whether Andy was insulting it, but I did bet Patrick Reed at 65-1. He was 50 to win the Memorial last week. I would love to see Patrick Reed win in Canada. That would be fantastic. I think his game, if it turns into just a bit of a shot making situation and get out of some green trouble, I actually trust Reed at the moment. So that is a bet that I've made. So that's my card for the moment.
I think he still has it. But he has these blow up rounds where it's just like, Patrick, you can't have a round like that. And he was good at the
from the outright betting perspective, I acknowledge that, but it's one of those situations that I'm betting on. Like we've seen like 2.5. We've seen like 2 good rounds. We've seen it turn into like 2.5 good rounds, 3 good rounds. Now I'm just like, let's progress to 4 rounds or like not the disaster round. I do believe it's in there at the moment. There's like 100 to 1s for the US Open. I don't know, man. I could be back in like a Reed mode, but for at least the moment, I do back him in Canada, and I'm circling around that Chris Kirk.
I'm still thinking. Yeah, I love Chris Kirk this week. I'm still thinking that maybe of all the Canadian, Corey Connors is built a little different. I don't think he's going to let the pressure get to. He just, you know what? He's got bigger Timbits than the rest of them. He's just going to reach. He's going to reach down. And he's fine. Like
I love Corey Connors. I love him. If he wins,
now I want it. Of all of them, obviously, if you could pick a guy to win, you'd say, well, I'd like the longest odds I bet this week to win. That would be perfect. I'd make the most money, or whichever one has the best payout for you. But now I think I really just want to see Corey Connors win because it'd be a fun day for Canada, who just again lost their last NHL team in the playoffs, and they need a hero, right? It could be like Scott and Tessa level heroics here. So Corey Connors is we need like something stupid, like a gimmick, like your pick to click. He's my favorite. Cause I just flat bet I flat bet all of my outrights the same. Unless they're over 100 to 1, then I start betting them smaller. But so truthfully, I'd like Chris Kirk to win. I think that's the best payout.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to argue when you run stuff statistically. I mean, I have Connors third in the last 24 rounds. I mean, it feels too short, but again, part of it I think is both who's actually in the field, how those boards kind of crunch to the top, and the Canadian narrative probably driving some of the early action on them too. So yeah, I took Finau as well. Like Geoff said, I didn't know that Geoff was taking Finau, but I like that we are sharing that one. I just like I assumed he probably would. I saw the board. But I had messaged him considering Burns and Finau. But again, Finau at the 33 was a really nice number. And the ball striking has been nice. We have a couple of top 5s in the last couple of times out. Competed in that weak field event in Mexico, which is good to see. And then ball striking has been kind of trending up. So I like Finau here quite a bit. And I took a couple other guys in the same range. I didn't take Kirk, who I love. I didn't take Hadwin, who I think makes a ton of sense. But I am also on Munoz. And I also grabbed Keith Mitchell at 50, which I don't know. I just kind of like Keith Mitchell. I think he's playing pretty good. Could score here in the par 5s, which I think could matter here this week too. And not a great Mitchell course per se, but I like the number on Mitchell too. So, and then the rest of it's down the board. Took a couple of darts. CT Pan at 80. CT Pan is mispriced in my perspective. Like straight, the ball striking is great, and we know the putting can be wonky. Not a great par 5 scorer per se, but like everything else, he's good from this like longer 200+ yard distance. So I like CT Pan quite a bit at his number. I have him 10th in my stuff this week, so I like the 80 on him. And that's it. I took a deep down the board dive at Patrick Rogers, who like came out really high in my stuff this week, and I was surprised. And they kind of looked at the form. The ball striking has been actually fairly good with Rogers for like the last month and a half or so. So 200 on Rogers as a dart this week. But that's kind of it. I have a room for more, but I could be convinced on some of the other stuff. But that's it for me right now.
Might have some positional stuff, and Rogers was on a short list for that. Like shit, this isn't a guy I can actually bet to win this, even though
I know
I bet Alex Smalley to win this. And again, that was that's probably again just a numbers thing, but like Alex Smalley, if you're going to put him at 175 to 1 somewhere, you're going to get a couple bucks from Andy on that. So other than the four I mentioned, yeah, JJ Spawn and Alex Smalley at 135 and 175 to 1 respectively as my arts. It's maybe some guys I should put some top 40 bets on just to pay those outrights off, but there's a couple guys I like, and same like you said, Rogers, and then also CT Pan, some top 40 guys on my short list as well. No outrights on those two though.
Yes, so finishing position bets at the top of the board, I think, makes sense. At the top, we're talking about how we think some of these guys that, the JTs, Rorys, Burns, I think some top 10s on those guys makes a ton of sense if you don't get down on them on the outrights, because I think Lowry fits, you can add to that mix too, because I'm not going to be surprised if we see a little bit of a top heavy board here. So that makes a ton of sense if you can find good numbers on those guys.
I've just been looking for that, looking for some Patrick Rogers here. For me, for the bombs, I mentioned I have Nick Taylor, Brendan Todd, 100 to 1 over at DraftKings. I think that's a, form. If it plays to a certain way, you just can keep it real clean. And that's a big discrepancy because it's as low as 60 and 50 in some spots. And DraftKings throwing the 100 out there on Taylor. And I just had someone else on my head. You wish you could trust Emiliano Grillo because it does feel like an ideal course type for everything Grillo does, but it only a matter of holes before he misses a putt he believes should have broken a certain way, and he gives the hole the finger, and everything goes downhill.
Chucks the club in the water.
Yeah, it goes downhill from there. Rasmus Højgaard, I've seen as high as 100 to 1. This is just a completely irrelevant, correlated narrative, but we saw Higo in this exact spot. It wasn't the Canadian Open. It was at Palmetto. It was his second or third ever PGA start. Had a couple Euro wins in the bag. I wouldn't be shocked. I believe that much in the Rasmus Højgaard ceiling. And over in Europe, they play a lot of these classical tree-lined, can be penal courses that aren't very long. So I think he'll be very comfortable there. And Matt Wallace is another guy who can kind of fit that, even though it's one I don't think I'm going to be betting, maybe placings. I'm just a fan of his, would like to see him play well. But Todd and Rasmus and Taylor will probably be the triple digits that I'm looking at. And if 200 on Patrick Rogers, because you're not the first person to make that case to me this week, Ryan. Yeah,
there's some 80s on Rogers too. So the 200 is still sitting there on DraftKings. So yeah, he just, I don't know. I'm a sucker for him at times too, long and good putting. And if we can get into this, the ball striking kind of carries over what we've seen of late from him, which is encouraging. Maybe there's something there. Again, finishing position, probably, I think he's plus 175 for a T40, which is probably a safer bet for you. But at 200, you want a little sprinkle. There's nothing wrong with that. I think he can be in the mix here a little bit. So yeah, very interesting board here. And I'm interested to see. And I think because we don't see this course, I think not locking in on a golfer archetype is probably smart. You want to be able to cover. That's why I think the Højgaard call makes sense, because if there's an ability to bomb and gouge here, then you want to have some guys that can absolutely mash. And if it's going to be a place where, we want fairways and ball striking, and then that leads itself to more, Brandon Todds and CT Pans and, even.
I just don't think, it's hard to get the grasp. And I think Andy's right. The course is short enough where some of these big guys, they'll release their Kraken. And when the times it doesn't work, they're so close to the green, they'll just fluff it up there, get it 26 feet and for birdie, and you get lucky and make one of them. But this course is set up where there's going to be enough, 6-foot birdie putts available to the guys hitting it well nonstop for a few days that you can survive, I think, mashing it as long as you don't find the ultimate trouble.
Yep. It's Andy, we cover your card? Get all your stuff?
Yeah, it was, Connors, Lowry, Munoz, Kirk. Both Connors and Lowry in the 20s, Munoz and Kirk around 50. And then Spawn and Smalley is my bombs. And I'm still kind of working on I think maybe a quick takeaway to end the show is I don't do things the same for people I think who can win, people who I want to bet in matchups, and people who I think can top 20, top 40. Like I'm looking for different things. Like you need to have a lot of different things clicking to bet someone to win. Whereas like matchups, that's a whole different set of numbers.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
I was going to say like my top 40 stuff, I start with what I use to bet winners. Like I start with my outright numbers and I make a short list, but then I run a whole bunch of other stuff I'm looking at, because for a top 40 bet, I need somebody that has all the things that can win, but just not enough of them for me to bet them. And then I got to go back and look. It's like, what does this guy have for like a blow up factor though? Like, is he liable to just have a horrible day, a horrible round, something like that? Because they don't top 40 that often if they miss the cut.
But that I think correlates very well with, how you look at it. I like this guy to win. I'm going to bet him to win, maybe a little, but I've T40'd it and I got him, in my DFS. But for you to make into I think you're going to T40, you probably have to be doing enough, unless you're some like really super cheap $6,000 guy that I'm just like begging, get through, like just get through and everyone else will do their job. If I'm betting you a T40, like I circled your win market for sure. Like I swam around it at some point.
Yep.
To do that. So I do totally agree. And that kind of mimics how people probably go from betting to even DFS lineups on that spectrum.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a good call. Yeah. And I think there's, varying approaches too. Like last week I had a really, really narrow player pool. So like the guys I bet outright, I just covered them on T20s, maybe T30 with the right number. We almost got home with Aaron Wise, which would have been, would have been exciting. But, and then this week I'm probably going to do it different because I have some shots down the board, but because I just think the numbers on like JT, Rory, Burns, Lowry are a little too short for me. But
Aaron Wise is not the U.S. Open, correct?
I don't think so.
Okay. Unfortunately, Ryan, the numbers like we're coming out of, the U.S. Open would have represented a pretty big number. The field been so strong. Next time we see Aaron Wise, you're going to have to plug your nose on Monday morning, man. It's going to be short.
80 last week was nice. And
he is he was the best player. Minus Billy's inability to make a bogey, Aaron Wise was the best player in the field. Like when I backstatted it after the fact, and the network was even bringing that up through the day. So, the Wise Grang, like you got, I think about you guys a lot.
Close. I was enamored with the weekend golf on because I had other stuff to do, but I'm like, he's in the mix. I gotta be here. I gotta be present for this. I need to capture it. So yeah, it was, it was such an easy thing because I know Geoff at least, and I think Andy too. Like, no offense to Billy and his family. I'm sure he's a lovely person. I cannot stand watching him play golf. No. I just don't like it. And it was just such an easy thing to be rooting for Aaron all out because he's not only in the mix, but he's up against Billy Horschel, and it just couldn't come to fruition. But continue to ride or die, and hopefully the prices don't get too prohibitive because, again, all the reasons I wanted to back him came out last week. So we'll get there. We'll find a way. So, all right, gentlemen, appreciate you as always. Again, look at us, kind of right on time. A nice little tidy show, and we spent 35 minutes talking about a tour that hasn't even taken teed off yet. So it's going to be interesting here in the world of golf. We'll continue to. It'll make a nice busy newsletter, Andy. It gives you lots of content there in the newsletter.
Oh God, all afternoon. Usti, Lara Thabel, Becker, and Phil. Little bonus card there. I just bet those guys during the show.
Okay, Usti, Laurie Cantor. Ooh, there were some huge offshore, and I don't know what I was doing yesterday, guys. I saw those offshore numbers. I saw Wiesberger like 60. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, I just didn't. I wasn't in a headspace. I didn't fire. I sit down to do a show. Henny Dupuisis is like 100. By the time I'm done, he's 40. I missed the gang of offshore insanity early for LIV. So that really was a kick in the nuts. But Usti, Laurie Cantor would be my picks.
This is Scott Vincent kid who was like profile is a mess, but he's won his last 2 times out, and he's like 22-1. I can't imagine he takes down a tour event with DJ in it. But I looked at his skill profile. I'm like, who is this guy?
Do you know which country he plays for?
I did see it was a weird flag. I don't know.
Zimbabwe.
Okay.
And people, I've seen some of my friends. over betting because they think like DJ's dead money this week after getting 180 million. Like he's probably going to win his fair share of live events, I'm sure. But like this one, people are just like, no effing chance, buddy. So we'll see. But Louis off the farm for me. I'm going to tell with Andy there. I saw Mayo made the Louis Rory double this week. So maybe you want the JT Louis double or something.
I have parlayed outrights before. It's never worked. But boy, that number looks pretty good when you place it. Like, I would just retire then.
Yeah. But Andy pressured me because I can't not be able to tell my grandchildren that I bet on the first live event.
Yeah, you just have to make one.
I have to. Like, there's no way that I can't go to bed.
Are you like going to screen grab do you want like paper copies of your betting slips? You want to reach out to the sportsbook for
I have to buy a printer.
It's going to go on the mantle in the fireplace in the back.
Yeah, maybe I should be just like screen grabbing them and creating like a Shutterfly book. Like my wife does with our goddamn vacations. So, all right, that's a weird way to end it, but we are going to end it. It is the RBC Open, brought to you by BetSperts Golf. We're not an official sponsor of that event, but I made it sound like we were. So, Ryan, you got anything else?
No, new tool coming soon on the site.
Very excited.
And we're gonna keep it free for you for a while. So we'll be loud about that when it happens. Apologize. We're excited about it. We want you to be over, get over on the site and play with it too. So that is I would imagine within hours. And then that's vague because hours could be more than 2 days worth, but like it's coming.
700 hours. So all right. Thanks a lot, Geoff. Thanks.
Looking forward next week, US Open, Wagon. I have bet Sung JM. I'm part of that train. I signed enough in his 2 events to think if it plays US Open scoring, could be perfect. 66, 65 to 1. So that's
like
the
that.
future.
I almost bet that. Yeah. I got Cam Young at 70. I was part of the I had Cam Young last week, so I got caught up in the Cam Young Thursday morning. Let's get off early.
Golf
Cam
Wild.
Oh yeah. It's gone, so I feel good. It's like 40 now, so I feel good about that CLV, and we'll see if the landlord can cash that. But hopefully, watch the flyovers. There's some incredible stuff. Like the fried egg has awesome stuff. Like Brookline is going to be an absolute treat on TV with the elevation changes and like the
north. Is it close to you?
Well, I'm in Chicago now, but it's just outside of Boston. It's really like you'll see the skyline. Yeah, awesome. It's close to the city. So
I saw Nike. I seen they got these like lobster print caps that I think people will be wearing.
I've almost ordered one already.
Is there rope? They're your rope hats?
Yes, it's a rope hat.
Oh, I didn't see the rope on this one.
I saw something on Fanatics. Maybe it wasn't, but I did see the lobster print. I love it. I don't think it was Nike. It was just a good lobster print. I love a lobster print hat. So
that will be We'll have to link me there, Andy. But we appreciate it as always. We'll be back to do it next week, or big time for the championship. So, Andy and Geoff, I'm Ryan. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.